All right, looking for a post-race recap on this weekend. Orange County Speedway with the Vintage Sportsman Division. Overall had a pretty good time, but as you can see, it's kind of wet here now. Ended up qualifying on pole, but did not get to race. So weather came in a little later than they expected and stuck around a little bit longer, but car ran good. Didn't have any issues. Made several changes. And most of them paid off, worked out pretty good. Sitting here in the driveway. Oh, there's my Sundrop. I'm not sponsored by Sundrop, but I would not turn it down. Definitely would not. Set you guys in here somewhere and do a little bit of talking before we go. Nothing real crazy new about what we had going on. Put you back up on the trailer like I did last time. This past time, as a recap from Caraway, let me grab my drink here. Caraway went good before. Everybody, you guys remember that. We had a 588 gear in the car. So we were all over the rev limiter, which was really kind of hurting our corner entry. I say ours, mine. I couldn't drive it as deep as I should have. And so I figured 20 points would have got that. And so we went to a 567, which is a gear I'd run before in another car, and put that in there, kind of a mad dash to get ready. But turned out it wasn't enough still with a 6800 chip. So did not remember to bring my rev limiter chips. Didn't remember bringing a lot of stuff this time because I got kind of late. We were busy during the week, and I pretty much, from the last video like this I posted, I brought it to work, which is where I get to keep it, rolled it over in the corner, and did not touch it until a little bit Thursday afternoon, and then some Friday. Well, the rest of it Friday. So the list of things to do at that point was survey the body damage, because we had pulled a little bit of it out of the track and kind of beat on it a little bit. And then I found some more. So the first thing, the right side of it, I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Probably won't be able to, but down at the bottom here, the rail's in the way, let me see. There's a piece of tubing right there at the bottom of the rocker. I assumed that it riveted to it, but I was wrong. It was just there. It was, I don't know if it was spot weld or what, but through our race and a little bit of damage last time, that came loose. I didn't realize it. I don't know if it was towing up the road, that's what got it, but I jacked it up and the whole right side of the car was just kind of flopping. So I had to remount that. Left side was already riveted, so I just riveted this side back, got it fixed. Kind of messed with the right front a little bit, but there's a little bit of filler down there where the corner of the fender tapers down. So I didn't mess with that a whole lot. It's still busted up. Not bad, but still, you know, bare metal in a couple spots. And then the left side, I got over there and kind of beat the door back out a little bit better, massaged it some, you know, pulled strategically, and got it a little bit better too. It's a little bit wrinkled, but it's not so bad. The biggest thing about it was all the rubber transfer from getting a donut in the door, and a lot of that will come off pretty easy with like ST20, but this was like ground into the decals, so it really wouldn't come off. But then I remembered that the numbers on this car are like 3 layers. So they've got the red, the silver, and then I was trying to make it the silver kind of shimmer gold a little bit, so we put an overlay of like gold metallic on it. So I said, all right, I'll just pull that off. So that took about an hour and a half to peel every little piece of the top layer of that number off, and I'll show you what it turned out like. It was decent. And that took most of the rubber off of that side. So it really doesn't look near as bad. And then the pieces that were really like shredded, you can see I took a razor and I cut the pieces off so they weren't just kind of flapping. But once we peeled that outer layer off, a lot of the rubber came off, and it looks way better in photos than it did before. So not too bad there. But anyway, back to what I forgot to do. I'll set you guys back over here. So I knew last time we had to borrow a chip to get it to 7,000. Should have brought my own, but got behind. So another problem we had, I'm gonna turn you guys, I'm gonna sit you right here, I'm gonna raise the hood and show you what I'm talking about. A little adjustment here. So another problem we had was we were overheating. It could run pretty good for like 10 or 12 laps, but then the water temp would start going up. When I say going up, I mean like 220, 230, and it would settle in around 240, which is that's pretty high for what it is. I mean, you live life dangerously at 240 plus. And of course, the oil, this being a wet sump engine, the oil is very, very hot. Let me get my hood prop, and I'll kind of elaborate a little bit more on that. Just a second. This is my custom hood prop here. It works great with the other hood, but this one's a little different. Alrighty. Don't laugh. It works. Hadn't fell on me yet. Alright, so my setup here, conventional small block, you know, aluminum heads, nothing crazy, but if you look over here, we've got a remote oil filter. And then this is kind of like a, well, I'm gonna say cup style radiator because it's got the oil cooler in the radiator. And on dry sump, that's like real common. That's what you're supposed to do because you've got a big volume of oil and you can circulate all the way through there and you can take some temperature out. Got a good fan, everything works nice, keep it full of water, but it was still overheating. So we determined that because the volume of oil is not high enough and it's being a wet sump, it's superheating the oil to like 280, 300, the oil was heating the water. So there used to be a line right here that went to those two ports. Well, I'm sorry, it went to the top port and then went from here to there. And then this line right here used to go back there. So to try and alleviate our overheating problems, I just bypassed that, hooked it back to there when I had to service the oil too. Now the oil that came out of this thing was not the greatest looking either, and I'm going to attribute that to maybe my filter wasn't doing a great job, didn't have it quite sealed, or maybe just something previous, or it could have been from where this thing sat for a while. So, I mean, it could have been a few things. But anyway, bypass that. We're going to clean the radiator out a little bit because it still ran. The oil didn't get near as hot this time, but it still ran 220, which I think is doable for sure, but I think it would be a lot happier around 200, 210, and I'd be happier too. We didn't push any water this time, even after we come off the track and kind of got hung up in the scales area for just a second. It got to 240 once, but this thing, I can't really show you that much because the trailer's in the way, but this thing does not have a very wide grill opening. It's got good ductwork and a good fan, but there's just not that much surface area. So I'm going to look into that to kind of help this motor last a little bit longer. It's been a really good one to this point. Anyway, back to the whole deal with Orange County. So Orange County, they've got their own vintage sportsman division. It's not a particular club. I'll put you guys back on the stand here if I can. Not a particular club, they just have their own thing. There's a lot of short track sportsman racing history in that area. A lot of people have run there for a long time. People like Gary Lloyd and some others. I got to meet him. He's probably got thousands of laps there. But so their rules are pretty much like every other club, but they make you run a 390 carburetor, and which is good because I was having carburetor trouble anyway. So I pulled a 390 out of my stock there, kind of went through it, and man, that thing is great. Had no problem with the carburetor at all. Car ran fantastic the whole time there. But anyway, once we got on the track, I'd put a 567 gear in the back, and it was not enough at 6,800. So we lived life dangerously, and we pulled the rev limiter chip out and just kind of let it go. And man, I think after that, and really getting used to the track because I'd never been there before with this car, and once we pulled the chip and I was able to charge down in the corner and kind of got my nerve up a little bit, I think we picked up like 9/10 of a second. Once again, huge gain there. That doesn't happen a lot. So I feel like I finally figured it out there for a second. So we got the pole at a 15.3. And like I said, that was at about lap 20 on the day. So that worked out pretty good. Was really looking forward to the race, but there was the wind started picking up, and it was getting pretty rough there for a minute. Lightning cracking and all that stuff. So we got prepared to load, and we gave it about 15 minutes, and then finally the track called it because it was getting pretty severe right outside the track. And then once it started, it wasn't a quick thing. It just kind of tapered in, and it was going to take them forever to get the whole deal in. I think they had a 75 lap late model feature and like 3 or 4 other divisions to run, so they ended up calling it. But so like I said, Thursday, put the carburetor on it. Friday night, we did an engine service. We bypassed that oil cooler I was talking about, serviced the rear end and changed the gears back there. Did all that body work, and it got pretty late. Finally got loaded up, and in my mind, I said, all right, I'm ready to go. Got everything. Well, I forgot my left side mirror that I bought specifically for this. Got to the track, didn't have that. Didn't bring my radios, forgot about that completely. So all I had was a receiver, and guess what? They don't even use them. So with no left side mirror and no spotter, I was going to be in trouble. Our neighbors next to us, they offered us our radios. We had that figured out, but we made do. So we didn't have enough gear. Really need to go to a 550. We solved that problem by pulling the chip out. No big deal. The radio setup, that's totally on me. I got a really nice, I think I've got 5 radios, headsets, all that stuff. Just didn't even think to bring them because honestly, I'm not used to places either requiring them or having enough people worthy enough to go up there and spot for me, with me. Usually I'm not used to having that many people around. This time we had like full crew. Dad was able to come. They weren't racing this weekend. My buddy Jacob Pruitt, he's been with me for the longest time. He got to come for sure. He was off of work. And then Austin and Caitlin got to come too, and they did their whole deal. Austin's getting really into the car chief side of things. I'm showing him all I can, and he's loving that stuff. So with the tires, he's doing all my air pressure, and I got him a brand new 9-volt battery for his temp gun, so we could start taking tire temps and things like that. But yeah, it was a good deal. 10 gallons of fuel, $35 a piece to get in the pits, $20 transponder rental, just like usual. I think the Suburban burned like $100 worth of fuel. We went to Cookout. That was like $50 for all of us, and then to ease the pain of not getting a race, we went back to Waffle House. I don't know if that's like a long-standing tradition that's going to keep happening, but I personally love Waffle House, and the whole crew did too. So they said they didn't turn it down. So let's go. So we done that, got home early, which I didn't mind, to be honest with you, because like I said, not saying I didn't want to race, but I had run enough laps there that I had proved, all right, I got this figured out. Now I need to work on me. We had set fast time, which was, I'm not going to say luck, but it worked out pretty well. I was surprised. They came in and came over and told me, and I was shocked myself just because it didn't feel like that much of an improvement. But I think once I gain some more experience, it'll definitely feel like a big deal as far as knowing how much faster it actually is just by feeling it. And that's something I got to work on. And it's just going to take laps. So I was glad to get to laps. I think we did early practice and the regular practice and qualifying. I think we probably ran 50 laps from the time we got there to the time we left, and that wasn't including the race. Race was only 15 laps as well. That's something to talk about too. So a lot of how you set up your car or do your at least start and air pressure has to do with the length of your race. So with Virginia Vintage Racers at Caraway, that was a 30-lap feature, which is, as far as these cars go, that's pretty long. You know, back in the day, they'd run 50, 75, 100 lappers because that was a real deal. But, you know, now on used tires and older cars and sometimes older drivers, you know, you don't really see. I was expecting like 20, 25. When they said 30, I was happy to have it. But that's what I'm going to consider the longest version of what we're going to do, 30-lap sprints, maybe a 40. Sometimes they'll do like twin 40s. That's kind of cool. But this one was only 15 laps at Orange County, so that's usually about as long as it takes to get everything up to temp, you know. So we had to kind of adjust our approach as far as air pressure, starting pressures, and work on that. I got to use, let me go grab a cool tool. I got to use something I bought a couple years ago from Mickey York. I bought several things from him, but this is one of the neat tools. But be right back on that. I got this sweet stagger stick. Tanner Racing, new old stock from like probably the early 2000s. Reads in tenths, slides on out, did the whole deal there. Should have been using it all along, but just kind of learned on the tape measure, and that's what I've been doing. But I got to whip this thing out, and man, it was great. Worked out awesome. Got a little roller on it. Got a little knurled in right there to roll on the tire. That was pretty cool, like that. And we was able to start actually making tire sheets this time rather than just kind of remembering it all. But yeah, overall good deal. Car's in one piece. It's a little damp. Needed a bath anyway. The pollen is killer right now, and this black shows everything. But it was really cool to run a different shape racetrack with all the different grooves in it. They've got a tight-knit, long-running group in that class. I'm glad to see that because that tells me it's probably not going anywhere. It's somewhere I'd like to keep going. It's a little further away than I remembered it being, I guess, because I got to go through the woods for a while to get to 220. But once I get there, it's like an hour and 50 minutes for us. But I think for a nice facility with multiple grooves to race in and a lot of history, I think it's definitely worth going to, especially if they're going to keep that class going pretty often. And according to their schedule, they do. I think they run them almost every show that they have, which is pretty cool. That we had a field of 6, maybe 7. Had one guy drop out with some ignition problems. But honestly, guys, I mean, if you can't get 10 late models, if you got 5 vintage cars, that's a win. You know, if there's 5 people that are willing to do that, and you've only got 10 people that are willing to do a Charger or a late model sometimes, about as good as it's going to get right now. I'm leading a one-man crusade trying to bring that car count up. I can only drive one at a time, but I'd like to bring some interest into it. And I'll make another video later in the week kind of explaining a little bit of that, kind of why I'm doing things and what I hope to do, just to give you a quick view into that. What I'd like to do is kind of show people my experience with it, with being I can't afford to do a Charger car, which was kind of crazy to hear because everybody thinks that's really entry level. But if you just want to kind of piddle around and go fast at the same time, it's kind of hard to do both. This is like the best deal because it's laid back and you can run used tires and be competitive, and you don't have to buy all these parts to make something class legal. Most of the stuff on these cars are. So vintage is where it's at. If you're doing it for the glory and doing it for the love of old time racing and the history and all that, which is pretty much what I'm doing, and trying not to go broke and have a good time at the same time and learn and challenge yourself, vintage racing is where it's at. Vintage short track, circle track racing for sure. Road course is another level. I'll introduce you guys a little closer to that car that we have, the 94 Illumina. I'd like to get my racing brain and racing setup and hauler and all that stuff dialed in with repetitive weekly type stuff like this before I can really feel like I and us as an organization are ready to go several states away to run 180 mile an hour on a road course somewhere in an old car. But that is the eventual goal because we have the hardware. I'm really into doing that. I got a little taste of it a couple years ago, but want to keep this thing going. Want to kind of get our standard operating procedures and plans and routines in. I'm starting a routine right now. Every Sunday so far we've raced, I've made a video like this. I'm gonna try and keep that up. But yeah, overall, long story short, we didn't have any damage. Ran real good. Had a few things to work on, and looking forward to the next one. I don't know where that'll be. I know Tri-County is running next Saturday, but I did not think much further past this weekend when I was pretty much banking on running yesterday, and that was going to either get me by for a while or what. So I need to look at what we've got planned as a family for next weekend and make sure that I don't throw a wrench in any plans there, and then see what kind of help I got available then, and maybe we'll go down there. Also, just for the sake of learning and getting better, I need to be careful jumping around too much, because if you try and learn a car and a track that you've never been to or never run much at, it's kind of tough to make progress. That's something I've found. So I might pick one more track that's kind of close, that has them. Maybe that is Tri-County, because they do run several, but it's a little further for me. I think it's 2.5 hours solid, so that's 5 hours of travel time, and 2.5 hours ain't that big of a deal unless you don't leave till 11:30 at night. So need to decide. Need to think more about that. Maybe I'll go down there because they run them a lot. So maybe I might make my 3 tracks that I frequent Caraway because it's the closest, Orange County because it's the second closest and they run a lot, and then Tri-County because it's the third closest and they run a lot there too. I've figured that one out for sure. But yeah, so just to summarize, a good trip, no problem, no damage. Looking into maybe a radiator replacement. We're gonna clean this one out and see. I'm gonna hope buy some more quick change gears because I ain't got enough of them. And I think I need to make a kit, like a whole nother kit that has the small stuff that I keep forgetting, like the, keep my gears in there, keep my chips, keep small pieces other than tools, because this, like, Thursday night and Friday night I was repacking a Suburban again, which is not quite a disaster, but it's a lot in there right now. But I was repacking that, and I think in my brain I was focused on tools and batteries to make sure they were charged and had that stuff, and I kind of slacked off on the small parts that have unfortunately bit me twice. If I'd had my chip assortment, I could have just went on at Caraway, and if I had them, I could have just no problem here instead of thinking about it, whether I wanted to run without one or not. Radios, I already bring an extra racing suit just in case somebody needs one or something happens to mine. So I might as well bring a whole nother radio thing too. I've got them in a box, so I need to start doing that just for the hell of it. But yeah, just got to keep piddling with this car. I'm glad I don't have anything else to fix right this second. Now we can just work on improving it. We skipped valve lash last week. Needed it then, needed it Friday when I was doing the rest of that stuff, but ran out of time then. So hopefully before the next race we will lash these valves because it is a solid flat tappet motor. We'll lash the valves, maybe swap, go to a 550 gear, see what happens there. I need to check the brake pads all the way around. They look good, but I want to look a little closer at them. And I guess that's it. I would need to put that mirror on it, and I feel like I'm forgetting something. No, not really. Anyway, that's all I got. I'll give you one more little walk around the car. I'll show you the aftermath of the back of the Suburban. Nothing major there. We had to make another seat with my box of hats up in there. It's all the same stuff. I went through this bag, made that good, made sure all my batteries are charged. I got 3 out of 4 tires in the trailer this time. Had to put one in the back. So, not bad. I'd put that back for sure. Like I said, nothing crazy here. A little closer on the damage. It's not too bad. I'm thinking about maybe slapping a sticker or 2 right there and covering that up. And I don't run a seat cover, so the rain deal really didn't bother me much. But anyway, guys, it's been a long one. I'm going to throw some old pictures in here if I get time. And appreciate you guys' support. Everybody did a lot of commenting. I had a lot of people, rooting for me there at Orange County, and appreciate all the congratulations everybody's given me. And we got a poll this weekend, but that's about it. So anyway, see y'all in the next one, and I appreciate it.